whenever I'm rambling, I usually edit most of that out. But I'll leave you all rambling because that's always fun and I have control. Welcome to our welcome to our next edition of Youth Leader Hangouts, and we're here with Taylor and Brian. And today we're just answering questions from the page or questions that people have that y'all have sent in. And so, first of all, we haven't done introductions in a little bit, and we have somebody new. So, Brian, tell us kind of who you are and where you're from, and just the general introductions.
I am Brian Gerhardt. I'm the youth director at First United Methodist in Fulshear. Fulshear is about 10 miles outside of Katy, so if that gives you an idea of where we're at. I've been here for 6 months now. Originally come from Oklahoma, First United Methodist in Duncan, Oklahoma. I was born in the Texas area, so it's kind of coming back home for me. Other than that, I don't know what more I could say.
All right. Awesome. And Taylor, go ahead and say hi again.
My name's Taylor Ory. I am from FUMC Quitman, Texas, which is in the middle of nowhere, but it's the hometown of Sissy Spacek, so we got that going for us. To Quitman is about an hour and a half east of Dallas, right out in the middle of the piney woods in the lakes. So.
Awesome. And my name is Russell Martin. I'm the youth director at Williams Memorial in Texarkana, Texas, the hometown of David Crowder. So, and Pocket Full of Rocks from here. So, any music fans, so that's here. We are in the very top corner. You can't get any further north or further east and still be in Texas. So, we are actually closer to 6 or 7 other conference offices than our own. Anyway, the first, we're answering just some questions, and the first one I want to throw out is something that had been on the site that is probably coming up. You should be planning for if you're not yet, is high school seniors graduating. What do y'all do to honor seniors and Senior Sunday? Do y'all do that? Kind of what's your either plan or what are some of the cool things that you've heard about? And I'll just let y'all jump in wherever. I won't call on you.
I'll start off. I guess we don't have anything really groundbreaking. I mean, we do a lunch after church, and we, recognize them and all that stuff. Something different that I'm going to try this year is we have in the past had a video filmed by somebody who was important to the youth, or like somebody who was a former youth worker. Or 2 years ago, I got the former youth director. I had him film a video and just talk about each of the seniors and everything like that. This year, I'm kind of running out of ideas on who to bring in, because all the people that are here have been here for a while and they're still working with the youth. So what I'm going to do this year is talk to my younger kids, like the ones that have looked up to these seniors, and have them talk about them. So I have right now I have a senior girl who has been really involved with helping the junior high basketball girls, and so I'm gonna have her, some of the junior high girls, talk about that, and some of the older high school guys, have been really influential to our younger high school guys, and so I'm gonna try that, and we'll see how it works. But put that all on a video and just kind of have them talk about why this person made a difference in their life, why they were important, how they saw God in them, that sort of thing, and have that for them at Senior Sunday. But I haven't tried it, so I'm hoping it's a good idea. We'll find out in a couple months.
You said you've done those videos kind of before. And how do you do you have ways that you make sure that you get something for everybody within those, or do you sometimes have some you don't have them talk about? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so last year I had one, or I guess 2 or 3 years ago, we had one that the youth director had left, and we had a senior that came in after that, and so I didn't have one for her, but I had kind of described to him, what was going on with Maddie, and just, he still said something about her and said, I'm glad you found this place. I heard you're doing this, I heard you're doing that. I'm just really happy you're, but he didn't have a, oh, well, I remember on mission trip experience with her. So.
All right, Brian, what have you thought about, or what have you're just there, so you haven't done Senior Sunday there yet. What have you done in the past, or what are you planning on?
We don't have any seniors here this year, so it's that's not really going to be a thing this year here. But in the past, we've made Senior Sundays one of our biggest Sundays as far as youth are concerned that we do. We've made it a really big deal. We have a breakfast and a lunch on that day. The breakfast is for the entire youth. We go get donuts and all that kind of good stuff. And then the lunch is just for the seniors and their parents and their families. We will set it up as a kind of a potluck, but we also will cater some stuff in. Every student gets a goodie. Sometimes it's a bucket, sometimes a shower caddy, but we fill it full of stuff they'll need for their next adventure when it comes to college, like sheets and anything you think of, gift cards for food, all that. We just give them everything that will last them, as long as they can make it last. We also do scholarships. All year we have a scholarship fund that we would pour money into, and the students apply for. And so every year we have the opportunity, depending on how many seniors we have graduating, to give at least a couple of them a pretty decent scholarship to help them pay for those school expenses. Cool. And of course we do the standard slideshow and videos and stuff like that of when they were kids growing up.
Yeah. We have done the lunch and the slideshow. Recognized during church, they just kind of say who they are and kind of if they have plans, what they're doing, like that. But I love the buckets and that idea. I'm stealing that, and probably the breakfast with the youth, because I think this is my first group that's kind of my group. So I've been here 4 years. So this is my first. They were freshmen when I came here. They're graduating. And so the first group that I've really seen through their youth. And so, but the slideshow and the video but the breakfast, I like that idea with the youth group being able, because most of these guys are leaders in my youth group and leading small groups and stuff. And so that'd be good.
Well, it's important for the youth to be able to have that little bit of time with them as well, to say goodbye, because it's a big thing. Like, it comes from my hometown, so all these kids grew up together. I watched them grow up, and so it was a big deal. We also give them their first adult Bible that Sunday. So when the confirmation, that sometimes they'll get a Bible, but for us, we present them with like a big study Bible that will help them through college.
Cool. All right. Something that comes up here very often. Now, it seems like even if it's not on the list, it's something that we do. That a question that rises. Taylor was playing his guitar just a minute ago, and we were talking a little bit about worship. But again, do y'all have any ideas to help out anybody who? The question is from Trevor, who usually joins us sometimes. How do you worship on a regular basis, and when you, the youth leader, are not musically inclined? I'm kind of musically inclined. Taylor's musically inclined. Brian, do you play an instrument? Do you?
Yeah, that was actually how I got into ministry. I've been a worship pastor for the past 11 years. So the youth, being a full-time youth pastor, it was always full-time worship, part-time youth. Now it's flipped. So.
That's like my story there. So, but we are musically inclined. We can get up there with a guitar and lead a group and be fine. But what are some tips or things that you would have for somebody who does not have somebody who can do that? And let's think immediate. So I know long term, like I've worked on building my youth band. We've talked about that for 4 years, and we've kind of got that going now. But if you are a youth director right now and you've just taken over, but you have no body to do that, but you want worship time, what are some of the things you can do?
Number one, I'll say the number one most important thing: never ever play the worship off an iPod. I would say that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of guys, they don't have the musicians, and they think, oh, well, I'll play it on the iPod, and that'd be good enough. And coming from worship, you have to take worship at a stance of excellence. And so if you're going to do that, you want it to be as good as possible. And playing on an iPod, it's not personal, it's awkward, and so the kids aren't going to be into it. So it's one of those things is if you don't have a student that can play guitar, or if you don't have someone that can play any kind of instrument, sometimes just your voices is better than no music or having an iPod. So that would be my number one is not to play off an iPod. It better be a cappella than off an iPod.
Okay. Taylor, what tips do you have?
I think, well, I got two. So I am a very mediocre musician, but I'm very blessed to have some awesome musicians that are here at our church. For me, like when we were at PSYM, I had to be gone, and our girl that leads worship was out of town too. So I just got creative and started looking around for different people in our congregation that had any kind of musical talent or ability. And I think, a lot of our congregations have this kind of hidden, untapped talent that we don't, look into because they're, not youth parents or they're not involved with the youth. I found one of our guys, he is about 40 or so, I guess. He's got a kid that's in the children's church, but got talking with him, just asked around, and found out he played keyboard. And so I asked him, I was like, well, can you come in and play? And he goes, yeah, actually, I was in a praise band in college. I wouldn't mind doing this occasionally. So my first suggestion would be look around in your congregation because you probably do have hidden talent. It may not be, somebody who's young or somebody who even knows worship songs, but like with Will, I just told him, I was like, here are some songs we usually play. I said, here, I told him, you have free reign to do what you want. Play the songs that speak to you. And he said, you know what, I can do both. And so that was really cool. And then a couple weeks ago, Riley, my worship girl, was gone, and I was real sick. And so what we did is I still had regular youth, but I knew I wouldn't be able to lead worship. So what we did was we did contemplative prayer or group prayer, and just had some music playing. I think I strummed or did something on the guitar during that, and just picked something in rhythm. But you could do it. This isn't to contradict Brian, but you could have just something instrumental playing on an iPod or something, and just have some topics and give them about 30 seconds for each topic, and just tell them, guys, you're in a group together, but just spend this time in prayer, and have them pray about certain topics. Just give them a topic for 30 seconds at a time, and then just do that for about 3 or 4 minutes, and that worked out really well for us. That'll be something that we continue in the future, especially for my kids that worship isn't their way to connect necessarily, or sitting there singing in worship isn't their thing. That worked out really well for them. So that's what I got. I know that doesn't really cover everything, and those are two kind of solutions that worked for us for a week at a time. I don't know how they would work long term though.
You did.
Go ahead.
I guess I should elaborate on the iPod thing. What I mean by that is not pull up Chris Tomlin and play the song all the way through. Like if it's just one person that can play instruments, and you want a full band, there's plenty of resources out there that can give you free, like multi-track stuff like that. Those always are great. But yeah, I think what Taylor said is awesome. Is you have a full church to back you. And so don't limit yourself and think you have to have someone young or someone within your youth group or youth staff, I guess I should say, that has to lead it. You can have some person that's a member of the congregation that maybe doesn't get to serve in other aspects of the church that you could really it's not only be a blessing to them, but be able to be a blessing to the youth group as well, because they get to learn from those other individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mine too kind of ran a little bit with Taylor's, making sure that songs are not the only way you do worship. And so whether that's prayer experiences or I'm amazed that I'll have junior high boys who will be bouncing off the walls when we're singing songs, but we do prayer stations and they'll spend an hour and a half at the prayer stations. Yeah. So find some ways that you can do things like that. Also, if you don't exclude somebody who's not just can't play really, really well, because at least for piano, I tell my guys, if you can find, if it's in the key of C and you can put your thumb on C and play every other finger, you can play at least chords for how he loves. And you can just play, So if you have someone who has some piano experience, there are some simple ways, or someone who plays guitar but can't do all the chords and change really fast, have them play on just the downbeats of every chord change. And so that's how I introduce new musicians in, by having them do simple things. but also that's how you can have somebody who could play along. It may not be all your fast songs and upbeat, but they can play. We're doing Break Every Chain, and I was like, that's the same 4 chords over and over again. And if that's root position chords, it gives you something behind for somebody to sing along with. I'm sure we will do a full worship thing, and Brian would love to have, Taylor would love to have, when we do that, I'll announce one, because I think this is a question that keeps coming up. So I would love to talk about creating youth bands more, how to choose songs and things like that. So, but I'm going to do just one third question. We'll keep it short today. But the third question was, we may give 2. We'll help Jordan out. Jordan's usually with us. Jordan says, in regards to group activities, games, small groups, etc., how do you engage students who are too cool to participate? He who laughs loudest goes first.
Oh, that's the good one, right? I think that's a staple in all of our sides when it comes to game time, because you always have the girls that don't want to break their nails or don't think they're athletic enough or are too afraid to get hit by a ball. And I think the big key is there is variety. They're never going to engage if you're doing the same thing every week. If you're playing a super athletic sport every single week as your activity or game, those people are never going to get engaged. So what you need to do is kind of talk to them, say, hey, I noticed you're not playing the game this week. Why aren't you playing the game this week? What would you do? What would it take to get you involved? And 9 times out of 10 they'll tell you, hey, I just don't like sports, or I don't like being on this team, or whatever their reasoning is. So I think the biggest part of getting people involved is find out what their interest is.
Mm-hmm. How do you do it?
So I don't know if this works for everything, but I'll kind of speak from my own personal experience. I guess I was one of those youth kids. I was probably too cool, or I thought I was. I'm figuring out I'm less cool by the day. But one thing my youth director did is she realized I needed a purpose in being in youth. And so she had a purpose for me being there. And so one thing that I try to do with my kids is, a lot of times, you have these kids that are older that are too cool to play the games. Make them the leaders. Like, not necessarily like have them like leading the charge. If you're playing capture the flag, they have to be the ones. But like, have them explain the game. You say, okay, we're going to break up into their groups. Give them some stock in what they're doing. I think it's really hard to be disengaged when it's your responsibility to lead. And that may not work for everybody, but that may work for one kid or 2 kids. Like, I've got some senior basketball boys, and that was really good. Just this past weekend we had a game, and none of them wanted to play, but I said, okay, River, you're going to explain this to the younger kids. And when he explained it to the younger kids, they weren't grasping it. I'm like, okay, well, why don't you demonstrate it? And when he started demonstrating, that's when he got involved in the game and stuff like that. So that sort of stuff works for me. But yeah, I think, like Brian said, you're going to have kids that are not going to, that's not what they want to do. They don't want to play games for whatever reason, and sometimes you have to get creative with that. Sometimes, just no matter what you're going to do, they are not going to want to play that game. And so I think being creative and finding a way to keep them engaged, even if they aren't, playing the game is key for me. And that takes a lot of creativity. It takes a lot of brain work outside of just planning the game. You got to find a way to keep these kids that aren't engaged somehow. So, yeah, my big thing is don't let them walk off. Like, when, if you're playing a game outside and somebody says, well, I don't want to play, can I go sit inside? It's like, no, we want you to be together. So find some way to keep them engaged to where they don't want to walk off or don't want to go do something. If they want to take pictures of the game, sure, let them take pictures. Just something to keep them there.
Yeah, that was one of mine too. I had 2 things. One was choose games wisely, and that kind of went with what Brian said and stuff too. Is the variety, and also know your group. You have kids who will do. They may love running around and doing stuff, or they may love games where you're sitting like and playing in a circle or whatever. My guys know when I pull out a pool noodle, they already ask me like, are we playing this? Are we playing this? Are we playing this? So find the games that your guys like. And then giving them an out. There's probably some reasons that kids don't want to play that they don't want to tell you. that they're not going to play or they can't play, either because they don't feel like they're qualified enough or athletic enough, or maybe something physical, they've been hurt, but they don't want to say, hey, I'm hurt, I can't do this or whatever. And so I do have them do photos, cheer, be out there, being part of the group and playing the game. And I kind of try to decide, is this a game there's a point for it for the lesson I'm doing, or is just more of a group building kind of being out there type thing. So choose wisely and give them, those who don't want to play, a way to participate and be part. If we're doing indoors, we have music, and I have a couple of kids who will sit back there and keep music going and playing. And I'm like, you're in the area, you're working with stuff, so doing that. Or mine too. Anything else on those?
I'd say one last thing is those students that maybe just want to sit and not play, those end up being the best refs because they will not be partial. And that's always, you need people not playing and that are not partial to the game to kind of be those mediators.
Yeah. Okay, so I said we'd do the three of us, we'll throw one last in. Parent seminars, parent meetings, do y'all do those? How do you do those? What's the most effective way you've found to do those? Boy, y'all didn't jump on those near as fast as you jumped on the game.
No.
Hurt me.
Brian, you got it. If you got some.
I don't do. My pastor wants us to do parent meetings and seminars and all that junk, but parents are busy just like us. They have jobs, and so a lot of times they can't or will not show up to those things. And so I do it in just a casual way. You start out trying, well, let's send emails out. Well, no one checks their email. So I just had everybody get on a GroupMe, download the app, and I'm just basically texting the parents all the time. And it keeps them in the loop. They're able to ask me questions. I can reply pretty quickly because it's just sending a text message to my phone. And then parents can kind of scroll through the conversation and see what's going on and catch up if they're behind. So that's what's been effective for me here.
So you don't have like a beginning of the semester meeting, here's all your stuff type thing?
We do, but like I said, the only parents that show up are like the 5 core parents that help with everything.
Yeah.
So it's not even effective really because they know anyway. But I do have it available. What we do is we'll just have a lunch after church. I'll get some food and pizzas, stuff like that, salad for those that choose to eat that stuff. But I'll feed them, and that helps a little bit. But all I do is I just lay it out. I give them a printout. I already do a monthly brochure where I have a calendar of our events, and it has everything we're going to do for the month printed out. But I give them kind of a quick synopsis of the next 6 months or 4 months. Say, hey, this is what we're doing in February, March, and April, and maybe up to June. And if y'all have any ideas of what you think the kids would like to do, or maybe y'all want to be involved in, let me know. These are camps that we have going on. This is a retreat we have. This is the D-Now we got. So I do that, but it's not as effective because you can't. I'm gonna have a hard time getting the parents that aren't as heavily involved to show up to those information meetings.
Taylor, how do you keep parents involved, or do you do those meetings?
So I trick them, not literally, but I mentioned this earlier. People need a reason to be there. If they need a reason to be there, give them a reason to be there. So I have one yearly meeting. It's in August. I wish I had 2, but it's proved difficult to get one in at the beginning of the semester in the winter. So we do one big one in August, and I tell them, yeah, it's a parent meeting, but I need you there to fill out release forms for your kids because we need a release form every year. And so we do that. We also do like our parent information. So I say, hey, we need you to stop by, fill this stuff out. And also that's my time to reveal who their small group leaders are going to be for that year. So like who the kids' small group leaders are going to be. I keep that under wraps and try to treat it like it's, almost like it's a big reveal when really it's no big deal, but just like, parents want to know who are working with their kids. Mm-hmm. So that's what I do. And I don't know that we have great attendance. We have the parents that are going to be there. and then you have the parents that just aren't going to show up no matter what. So that's what we do. I would honestly love some better ideas on how to run that.
So basically what we're all saying is we have some ideas, but they're not working, and we're asking the same questions as well. And I'm the same deal. I just did this for the spring, which is our kind of spring Sunday and Wednesday event that I'm getting out to everybody. We do cards. We do a meeting in the spring and in the fall. Actually, the last one was actually better attended than I thought than some of the others had been. But I really try to gear, my new sixth grade parents, it's usually the ones who are coming in, just starting that, or wanting that information. The ones who, I don't see a lot of the ones who've been there for, this is their third child in the program, they know how it runs and such. So one thing I would like to try is the youth don't as much have Facebook, but their parents do. I know that because I get sent all the Hungry Hungry Hippo videos and the live Mario Kart videos and all the stuff we should try. But the parents do have Facebook, and so I'm interested in the Facebook Live aspect of just maybe trying just a little bit of that. It would put it up there. It'd be up there where they could view it at any time. But using video or something like that to get the information so that they can get it whenever they can sit down and watch instead of having to come to a specific point. But giving them a good reason to be there, I like that too. So. Obviously, another topic we need to get more ideas on and see who actually this is working for. So, well, thank you all very much for joining us today. And Taylor, welcome back. Brian, so great to have you. And please come back and catch us again. I think my lunch is here. Is that my lunch? Yes.
That's good time.
I am.
Is it okay if they set up for CPR? I forgot to put CPR on the calendar. We usually use it class, but the parlor does have some books.
I don't think. I think it's usually in there. Yeah.
Okay.
So no problem. It's just me.
I'm leaving.
All right. Bye. Take care. Yep. This is why I edit stuff. So thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Submit any questions you have, and we will see y'all next time. Bye.